I was talking with this friend of mine that is an ex junkie, and he did heroin and shit. And I never did heroin, thank God. You know, that sounds like one of the worst things, and everybody I know that has gotten addicted to it has problems with it for their entire life. They always crave it. Same as crystal meth. You know, I did a lot of things, but I never did that. And crack cocaine is another thing that I never did, and I'm glad. And I was involved with people that were doing crack when I was driving a cab in Kansas City. And one of the worst stories, that I can think of is, they'd always say, "Well, I want to do a round trip," and I knew what that meant. And a lot of times they'd go in and smoke up their money and come out and not have their money because they smoked it up. And this guy gets in the car, says this round trip, and he has like a 4-year-old kid with him. And then as soon as we got to the address, he jumps out and leaves the kid in the back seat. The kid's in the back seat. And I said, "Hey, you can't leave the kid here." He goes, "I'll be right back." And he starts walking away. So I get on the radio and I'm like, "Hey, this guy jumped out. I think he's going, the kid's in the back." So I'm being careful of what I'm saying. But I'm like, this kid's sitting here. I'm not a babysitter. And then the dispatcher's like, "Should we call the police?" And I said, "Well, not yet. But stay on the radio with me here in case there's a problem." The kid looked scared. He was terrified. The guy was in there for like 20-some minutes, and he comes back out, and he wants to go home, so we take him home. And then when we get home, he says, "I don't have any money." And I'm like, "Well, dude, you have to pay me. I want money. I'm working here. I need my money." And I was about to say, "Well, I'm going to call the police," but then there's this 4-year-old kid sitting in the back seat, Looked like a young Rodney Allen Rippey. It was a cute kid. And this is what the guy does. He takes the hat off the kid, and he takes his kid's gloves, and he says, "Here, this is all we have." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not taking your kid's hat and gloves. It's winter." I wanted to cuss him out, but the little kid was standing, sitting right there with this look on his face of just sheer terror. And I said, "Take your kid's gloves and hat and go and get some help." It was fucked up. I have a lot of cab driving stories. That was one of the worst jobs I've ever done, and I did it for a while. Hated it. I don't know why I wasn't training dogs back then. It's like, it was easy making art, and, it wasn't a real job. I could do it like once, twice a week, and I was drinking back then. It made it convenient for me to drink, I could wake up with a hangover and not go into work. It was awesome. It was an awesome job for a drunk. That's horrible.